Hey, real estate rock stars. If you are someone that is like, I hate posting on social media, I do not want to do another dang video, this episode is for you. Cyril Bijaoui is out of Miami and he doesn't do any of that stuff. And he kills it as one of the top realtors in Miami, constantly doing $5 million, $10 million deals. So you are going to love what he has to say. Without further ado, we have Cyril Bijaoui here from Miami, Florida, and he's been an agent for a long time. And he is the anti-agent. Not that he's against agents, but he is not that person that's out there saying, me, doing social media, and yet he kills it every day. Thanks for joining us, Cyril.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's start from the beginning. Talk about how you got into real estate. Tell us about yourself.
So I started 23 years ago. I started more in the investment side where I bought a small 8-unit apartment building and I became the property manager. And then as the property manager, I became the leasing agent that started helping people in the building lease in other places. So before you knew it, I was a realtor and I haven't looked back, and I've done, one of every type of deal. I'm not just residential and I'm not just commercial. I service all aspects of the real estate industry, and I try to do so at a high level.
I'm guessing Miami's a pretty competitive market.
Oh yeah, very cutthroat, competitive market.
So when you're starting out being just kind of, your own agent and then transitioning into being one of the top agents there, talk a little bit about that journey.
Well, it's a long road, and I didn't take the conventional road, as you said earlier, about being the unusual type of agent. There's different paths to everything, and one size doesn't fit all. The path I chose to take was more one based around discretion. And I built my whole business based on that, and referral based, and which is a very sort of brick by brick, step by step sort of approach, which is why it's taken me 23 years to become very established and do well in the business. I'd say that I started doing, my more recognized success probably started about 5-6 years ago. So if you do the math on that, it took me about 17 years. Which is probably not that exciting for people that are thinking about getting into the business. There are quicker paths. Those quicker paths are the very marketing driven, social media, loud, look at me, here's what I'm doing, that stuff works. But I feel like everyone's doing it and not everyone's selling that big stuff. So a lot of it is just fluff, and it's just a lot of not necessarily stuff that's backed by substance. So the approach I took, which is a much longer approach, is definitely one that's, I don't talk about the deals I close. I don't market them. I don't announce it. I don't post it on social. I have a social account because my brokerage wants me to have one, and we try to post things on there, but it's one of those, it's not the most exciting. But what I would love to share with people is that there is another way to be a successful realtor agent than the one size fits all that's out there and in the news every day. But this is a hard job. It's a long road. I always make a joke that my career is people's second or third fallback plan, which is something I don't like, but it's, nothing else is working out, so I'm going to be a realtor. Well, if that's the MO, you're not going to do great. This is a job I take very seriously. I go to work every day. I work very hard, long hours. I do have a very balanced life. I travel. I have a family. I'm able to juggle all of that, but it takes an enormous amount of discipline and drive and constant drive. And that's what I think is required to do really well.
I think you just hit on a really important topic that a lot of realtors don't realize this. All of a sudden they work for themselves. So that means they can be in their jammies till 10 or 11 or go shopping or do lunches. Talk about how, and I know you're saying it's not the marketing. It sounds like it's more your day in, day out hard work that has gotten you to be so successful.
Yes, but marketing is something that's absolutely necessary, because you could be the greatest at something and no one's ever heard of you, and you'll just be in this vacuum by yourself. So I've had to pull my head out of the hole and start, thinking about that at different steps. I was very fortunate that Corcoran, the brokerage, Corcoran Group, acquired me and my company 3.5 years ago. So with that, that sort of elevated everything, and then they started pushing me into more of that stuff. And they contacted me because they saw numbers and MLS tracking and things like that. So there has to be something that's out there in order for people to know you exist. But it doesn't necessarily have to be overinflated or over embellished or over the top. And there are other ways to do it where it's really just word of mouth and referral, which existed before social media. And that's really what I built my foundation on. And what started out as I'll do any deal because I can't afford not to, really led into a great way to be a really diversified person and broker. Which is why I service commercial and residential. I own commercial investment property. I own apartment buildings. All these are all diversification things I've done over the course of time. But my day in, day out is selling and leasing real estate, both commercial and residential. I get dressed every day nicely. I drive to an office. I try to do it nicely. I drive to an office and then I come home, and it's a full-time.
So when, like, now at this point, you've done it for so long and you have that, ball as it grows, and it's a lot easier at year 23, but talk about what you did early on to build people's trust, to get those word of mouth referrals, that sort of thing. Because I feel like people are more and more stingy about that in today's age.
I mean, it's a simple answer, but it's the answer that nobody really wants to accept. I really did I did a very good job for people. I went out of my way to make sure that I did the best possible job. I'm not special. I don't have a magic wand, but I did make my niche in going a little bit further than what the average person is willing to do in order to help people achieve their goals, whether it's hitting a certain price, a certain deadline that they want to sell by, whatever it is. It's really getting in the weeds. I have a saying that I like to say, I'm quality, not quantity. And then with time, the volume will follow you. So the short answer is I built my business purely on being really good at servicing those clients in the beginning, which led to bigger and bigger clients and bigger deals. We only have 8 hours, so it's good to leverage up and scale up with time. But at the same time, I also never neglected anyone along the way. I mean, the people I helped sell a $100,000 house for, they can still call me today and I would still help them. So it's important to not forget where you came from.
Did you ever ask for it? Like, not one of those cheesy things, like your referrals are my lifeblood. Yeah. Did you ever say something like, hey man, I really like working with you. I'd like to work with more people like you? Or did you hang out with them as friends?
That's a great question. And I didn't necessarily in a corny way ask. It was sort of happened and it would just build from there. Remember, I started with the apartment building. So the apartment building had 8 units. So that sort of gave me an opportunity to have 8 different clients, so to speak, and build from there. And this wasn't a very high-end building. But hold on, what was the second question you asked? Because I wanted to touch on that point.
Yeah, like were you asking for it, or did you guys just become friends more
so?
Yeah,
the friends part. Yeah, so I'm definitely one of those agents that is not the norm, where a lot of the really successful top-tier agents, in residential specifically, become best friends, hang out at the club or at the bar or the restaurant. I've never done it that way. I'm married, I have a kid, and I like to go home and, I'll have a dinner here and there, but it's seldom. It's not my normal practice. The way I sourced it took a lot longer. There's a lot of people that achieve greater success in a faster way with the conventional other ways, which is they came from the nightlife, for example, and they were nightclub promoters, so they had lists and VIPs, and then they pushed on that. I know I could name 3 top agents, which I won't, but I could, that came from that world, and they're literally the top of the business in the residential side in Miami. So leveraging those contacts is definitely works, and for those people that work, because those were high net worth people. My advice to someone who's a junior or starting out: be genuine, be organic, and look at your interests. If you play tennis, lots of people whether you're targeting affluence or not. I mean, generally, if you're trying to scale up, you're going to target more affluent people. But if you play tennis, your community become knowledgeable, and then people will start to see that you're someone they can call upon and ask questions to. So it's really about follow what your interests are, which is a great way to live a balanced life. Whatever those interests are, whether it's pottery, whatever, you're going to meet people. and everybody needs a roof. So in the residential side, that's probably the greatest way. On the commercial side, that's a little bit more complicated. That's probably better to shadow a veteran agent and then build it up that way in one of the larger firms. I didn't do it that way, but I have a background in finance, and because I started out more as an investor, I always wear the hat of what would I do if I were you, which is probably one of the greatest little secrets that I could share. Not that it's exactly a secret, but what would you never ever do anything for yourself, for your self-interest, for your commission, ever, even if it means not getting the deal, because that will get you 10 clients. And there are times that I told people, don't do it for A, B, and C reason. And they're like, wow, that guy's really not self-interested. That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing. In real estate is a long-term industry, and short-term thinking in this business you will not succeed. You might get lucky in one or two deals, but that's it.
No, 100%. Were you frustrated at the beginning where maybe people were having faster success?
Well, I'm still frustrated.
Okay.
Because it's so easy. My wife has a saying: don't compare your insides to people's outsides. You don't know what they did. You don't know what they went through, and you don't know the efforts they put in. I'm very happy with where I am, and I hope it continues. And it's not like a luck streak. It's I work for it, and I earned it, and I built a reputation from it. Don't let yourself get frustrated. Don't compare yourself too much to others, because that's the greatest way. I mean, it's the reason why I don't like social media. Not to get philosophic, but it's social media makes people insecure and anxious, nervous, because they're seeing how great everyone else's lives are. Same thing applies in real estate. Same thing applies in everything, in my opinion.
Well, I like doing this podcast because I hear all different types of personalities, and you a lot of times see the people that fall in 80% of that realtor personality. And then you have that other 20%, but all those people are told, make videos, post on social. And it's just so opposite of who they are. And talk about if somebody would have really forced you to do that, how maybe it wouldn't have been the best thing for you.
Well, and I am always getting, I don't want to say forced, but pushed by my brokers to do more of that, because they're like, we think you're a good speaker and that people will want to hear what you have to say, so you should do more videos, because that's a good way to get that out there. And I enjoy it. I'm enjoying to be here. I'm enjoying speaking with you. But I have this corny meter inside my stomach. When that meter goes off, I'm like, I can't do it. And I'm out. So just stay true to yourself, because if ever you're doing it, this isn't an acting gig. This is a job. Like, the greatest way to succeed, in my opinion, is to be genuine with yourself and do things. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't push your boundaries, because I am trying to push my boundaries. I'm doing this podcast, for example, which my marketing people are like, oh, you should do this. And I welcome it and I'm grateful. But it's a function of also do push your boundaries without changing who you are and what's okay for you. And and I can name a couple, but I won't, but there are some top brokers in the country, like the very top, that don't have Instagram, that are hugely successful, purely built on long-term thinking, slow referral by referral business building.
I think that's great to hear, because again, you hear so many agents go, that's just not me. And I think if they then start doing it, or they try to start doing some real estate dance, it's going to backfire. It's not going to work for them. And I think you hit it right there, being true to yourself. If you are comfortable with video and you love doing it, do it. If you hate it, don't do it. Don't do it. Maybe try to learn to get better as a public speaker, but don't do something you hate, because I don't think people are going to resonate very well with it.
Yeah, I mean, in a world with whatever's going on with media, I think people really respond to feeling whether someone's genuine or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a weird year in real estate, I think, all over the country. And Florida gets a lot of press saying, oh, Florida's awful. Personally, our team, we're up this year. I think a lot of top performers are up. What are you seeing? How's your year going?
It's my biggest year.
Okay.
Year over year, which I don't, I'm answering the question, but I don't love to say it, because I know a lot of people are having down years and are worried. So I say it with sensitivity. But the niche I've carved out and the businesses I'm involved in I've been fortunate to have a larger year than last year. And I got to a bigger year than the year before in June, which is quite remarkable. So, I mean, it's almost a doubling, which is, not what you'd expect with what you're reading. But it goes back to my point earlier at the beginning of this podcast, which is there are uber affluent people still moving here. And there's still plenty of velocity with home sales, condo sales, office leases. A big part of my business is commercial office leasing. I manage and lease a Class A office building in the heart of South of Fifth in Miami Beach. So I get a ton of my business from there and referrals from there. But it also gives me a real pulse because, you hear about wealthy people moving to Miami, but when wealthy people are getting offices or buying buildings or setting up industrial shops or whatever, that's telling you people have migrated here. And like I told you earlier before the podcast, I have family in LA, and I was talking to a realtor out there because I used to be affiliated to an LA firm. It's a real shame what I'm hearing about values out in Los Angeles, but there's definitely business going on. It's just a lot harder to get into that vein, and it's very tough for people that are starting out or in below a certain price point, unfortunately.
So you're mostly like with your biggest years and mostly the commercial side, or is it luxury or both?
It's both. Yeah. Because people are buying houses and then they're buying an office building or they're buying a warehouse or they're signing a 10-year commercial lease for 20,000 feet. Those are all big ticket items.
Since you've been through a lot of markets, being in this 23 years, to newer agents starting out or people that are typically below a certain price point, what would be your advice to them?
While staying natural, see how you can expand your sphere of influence to be closer. And because, you can't be a secret agent, but I like to think I'm a secret agent, but you got to be around affluence or wealth for it to rub off on you a little bit. So you don't have to be fake. You don't have to go to the club unless that's what you want to do. But go, if you have a sport interest where wealthy people are there, go do that. And don't start handing out cards and like networking on the tennis court. Just build organic relationships, like make friends. I keep using tennis as the example because I love tennis and I play it quite a bit. It's amazing the relationships you make, and without ever trying, they just know that I'm in the business. And then one day they'll ask me their opinion, or they won't, or they'll run something by me. And they know that they can talk to me without me trying to be their realtor or their broker. And that's super important because that's a way to build, a position as market savvy and make people feel comfortable asking you things. Because if there's one thing I can tell you about most people, and definitely affluent people do not like when people are always trying to grab something from them. That's the worst thing you can do. I don't compare myself to the affluent people because I'm nowhere near their means. And whenever they call me, I'm not comparing myself and I'm not trying to grab something from them. I'm just trying to service whatever they're asking for in the best way possible, where they're like, wow, there is no one sharper than this guy or this girl. And I am going to call this guy or this girl because not only did he do this for me or she did this for me, but he went that much above and beyond and never made me feel awkward about it.
Okay, so when you are at the country club or however you're meeting these people, sometimes they're going to use other agents and they ask you for advice and go with someone else and no one likes it. Tell me about how you handle that.
The best way is to always be gracious and to do your best to not take it personal, which is very hard because we're only human and it hurts your feelings and it hurts mine. And, I'll try to sleep on it. After a couple of days, it goes away. But the best in trying to not take it personal, you don't know what the reasons why people do certain things. And there are different reasons why people do certain things, especially in the commercial arena where they have to use a certain brokerage or certain this or that because of other requirements you may not be familiar with. So the short answer is be gracious, always be elegant, and don't assume it's strictly because of you. Also, know your worth. That's a big thing because I've had people that I were friends and they chose someone else because they were better friends. And I said, it's funny how, people hire a friend for the most important transaction of their life, but when they go do accounting or whatever, they go to an expert. So, I'm the expert, but you're closer friends with this person. So you're worried about their feelings and therefore you're going to compromise and sacrifice yourself in one of the most important transactions in your life. This is the business we're in. But a quick example I can give about being gracious and staying engaged. I had a client that was a lease that was going to turn into a sale. They were referred to me, and they were great, and it was a high ticket lease. I helped them find a place, and the lease came near the end. And then I reached out to them saying, time to check in. Your lease is about to mature. Do you want to extend? Do you want to start looking for a sale? And then they told me, hey, Cyril, we a month ago we went to an open house and we fell in love, and the deal felt right, and we just bought it. And it's very easy for me to say, how can you do this to me? Instead, I asked them to give me a little bit of the details, and I was very gracious. And I said, of course, I'm not going to pretend it doesn't hurt my feelings a little bit, but it's not about my feelings. How good was your deal? Tell me the unit, tell me this. And then I looked it up, and I actually knew the agent that worked for the pre-construction for the developer. And I told him, you got a great deal. You basically were able to not have to pay a higher price based on the commission that I would have received from the developer. So you did fine. And, cut to several months later, I'm still in touch with those people, and I'm planning to meet them for coffee for two reasons. One, because I like them as people, and it is very important to stay in contact with people. But two, one day they're going to sell that unit or they're going to lease it. So, and I know they think that I'm a very good agent, and I know they'd like to work with me. It's just that day was serendipitous. They went on a whim and they acted on it, and they did fine. So be gracious and don't take it personal, and always be elegant is my short answer for that.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Cyril. If people want to find you, how can they find you?
Google my name, you'll find me, but Cyril Bijaoui, Cyril, Bijaoui, Bijaoui. My team website is longsteadrealestate.com, Longstead, STEAD, realestate.com. I named it that way because I'm a long-term guy. And my cell phone is 786-326-3774.
Yeah,
and
don't
I always
try to
answer.
DM you on Facebook or Instagram. You probably won't respond.
You can,
Yeah.
but you won't get a response.
Yeah.
You might get one of my marketing people that will respond to you.
No, I love it. I love how true to yourself you are. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us on Real Estate Rockstars, and we'll hang out again soon.